Once you've learned how to hold your yarn and how to do a chain stitch, as I've shown you in the previous video, the next step is to learn how to do a single crochet stitch. You can do a single crochet stitch straight into this chain, or you can learn how to do the foundation single crochet stitch in my next video. It makes a really neat beginning point for any single crochet project. Or you can start in a magic ring, which is the way you usually start when you're making amigurumi. But just to learn how to do the stitch itself, I'll show you on this chain. So we've done a chain, and this is the last stitch that I did here. I'm going to skip that stitch and go into the top of the next stitch. So put the hook through the top of the next stitch, put some yarn over and pull through that loop there. Now you'll have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through both of them. That's one single crochet stitch. So go into the top of the next stitch, yarn over, pull through there, then yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook. So you're back to having 1 loop on your hook. Put the yarn through the top of that stitch there, yarn over and pull a loop through. Now you have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through both loops. And that's another stitch. So now you have 1, 2, 3 single crochet stitches. You can see by the little raindrop, teardrop, whatever you want to call it, little mark here at the top that there's 1, 2 and 3 single crochet stitches. The bottom looks a little messy. That's why I prefer to start with the foundation single crochet. So let's keep going just so that you can see how to make it easily on a chain. So go through that top loop, yarn over and pull through some yarn. Now you have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through both loops. So put your hook through the top of the chain again, yarn over and pull through a loop, yarn over and pull through both loops. Now you're back to 1 loop on your hook. Oh, you can see that I've missed one of the strands. So to undo, just go back a stitch and make sure you've gotten all of the pieces of yarn. I'm actually using macrame cord here so that you can see more easily what I'm doing. So yarn over, pull through. Now you have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through both of them. So put your hook through the top of that stitch, the next stitch in your chain, yarn over and pull through a loop. You have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through both loops. So that's what it looks like when you go through the top of the chain stitch. You can also go through the bottom of the chain stitch. So I guess you can see here the top. It's easy to see a gap there. So there's 1 piece of yarn at the top and there are 2 pieces of yarn crossing over at the bottom. If you go through the bottom stitch, you'll have 1 piece of yarn on the bottom side and 2 pieces of yarn on the top side. If you crochet through here, so pull on a loop, then you have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through both of them. Then go into the back of the next stitch. See, there's a little loop there, and then here's the next loop. So go through that second loop, yarn over and pull through, then yarn over and pull through both of them. We'll do 2 more and then I'll show you what it looks like. So this was the loop we just did. So here we go through the next loop, yarn over, pull through, then yarn over and pull through both of them. An easier way to do it sometimes is to hook up on this stitch and down into the next stitch. If that's too confusing, just ignore that. You're going through this stitch here, but sometimes people find it hard to get into that stitch, so you can hook up through the previous stitch and down through the next stitch. Maybe too much information, I'm not sure. I tend to be able to do this way much faster than the other way. I don't know why. But the goal is to go through that back stitch. So doing it the other way again, you just go through that loop at the bottom. I've missed a piece, there it is. Then yarn over, pull some yarn through, yarn over and pull through both. I think the reason why I developed the other way for myself is that last stitch is really hard to get into. So I found if I hooked up in under this previous stitch that we just made, and then down into the gap that creates in the next space, that was the easiest way to get into that last stitch. Now if you have a look at what we've done so far, you can see that this style of going into the top loop gives a little line across the bottom, and this style of going into the bottom stitch leaves a little cross hash pattern at the bottom. It doesn't matter which one you use, you can do whatever you like. I actually prefer the other method of doing the foundation single crochet, and I'll show you how to do that next. But if you were to continue doing this single crochet row and you turn into another row, what you do is you do a single chain, and then you turn your work over, and then you start to crochet in the top of that stitch. So here was your last stitch here. You can see a little gap there. You put the hook through that gap, yarn over, pull some yarn through, then yarn over and pull through both loops. And then to see the next space to put it through, if you can't see it this way, have a look from the top and you can see that little teardrop shape. You need to go through both the front and back of those loops. Occasionally a pattern will tell you just to go through the front loop or just to go through the back loop, which is fine. That's an effect that they're aiming for in your crochet, but normally you would go through both the front and the back of those, they call them legs of the stitch, and pull some yarn through under both of them. And then you yarn over and pull through both loops. So again, here's the stitch we went into. Here's the next stitch here. So we'll push the hook through there, going behind the front and back legs of that stitch. Yarn over, pull some yarn through. Now you have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through both loops. Into the next stitch, push your hook through. There's the front and back leg there. Yarn over and pull through. Yarn over and pull through 2. So into the next stitch. Remember, the way to keep your stitches the same size is by gently loosening and tightening with your index finger on your non-dominant hand. It's also much easier to control your work if you keep your thumb and other fingers that are holding your work close to where the hook is. So it's just a process of going to the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. In Amigurumi, this is the most common stitch. When you get to the last stitch, you have to make sure you get both of those legs again. So here is the front leg closest to me, and there's the back leg away from me. So you need to pull both of those on, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through 2. So if you're going to repeat that in the next row, again, you do a chain, then turn your work over and start again immediately in that first stitch. Now that is the standard single crochet stitch. This has gone across this way, then back this way, then across this way. It does look different when you're crocheting in rounds. You don't have that backward stitch. It all looks like this. So the standard single crochet has this little V that you can see here. When you're doing amigurumi, some people advise you to do a different way. So instead of going around like this, where you hook the yarn over the hook and pull through, some amigurumi request you to go over the yarn and pull it through this way, and then pull through both of them. This gives you a much tighter stitch. So you go over top of the yarn, pull it through, and then pull through both of them. Again, through the hole, behind the front and back, over the yarn, and pull it through. If you crochet this way, you can see that that makes a much tighter stitch, and there won't be very many gaps between it. You can see that this way there are some little gaps there. By crocheting this way, it pulls the yarn tighter and so there are fewer gaps. Some people prefer to crochet this way. Normally I don't. Normally I just like the little V's because that's what I've made my whole life and I think it looks pretty. But if you're working with a yarn that is leaving gaps, this is an option. So you just put your hook through the space, put your hook over the yarn, pull it through, and then pull it through both of them. Again, into the next stitch, put the hook over the yarn, pull it through, and then pull through too. In the next video, I'll teach you how to do the half double crochet stitch. It's just a half a step taller than this stitch. It's not used as much in Amigurumi, but I still use it in some of my patterns. It crochets up faster than the single crochet and it's useful when you're not using fibre fill. So you can see that that's a much tighter stitch there. Just go with whichever you prefer. It really doesn't matter each way unless you want your stitches to be really tight together.